Not sure if everybody is familiar with the way that this show starts, but it starts with an ever-going monologue from Tomoya Okazaki, our main character as such. He essentially talks about how he hates the town that he's in, and he wishes that something about it would change, maybe even all of it. He then comes across a girl who's basically waiting at the very start of the road that leads to their school. Nagisa Furukawa is her name, and she essentially yells out a weird phrase, "Onpon." It's like some kind of bread thing, don't worry about it. She goes on to tell Tomoya, a boy that she's met up till now, and tells him that she loves the school very much, but she's sad that everything about it one day might eventually change. Whereas Tomoya has memories of this town that aren't so flattering and that he'd rather forget, Nagisa has very fond memories of this town that she would like to hold in her heart, but she knows that those fond memories will eventually change. Where Nagisa says that all these fun things will only last for so long and the memories may corrode, Tomoya tells Nagisa to look for new fun memories. And this is the stark contrast between them, and this is where their ideals come to meet. Just like that, the dawn to a new romance blossoms. The reviews are in and the audience has spoken. This is the first part of my review on Clannad. And in case if you're wondering, this is what's known as a harem anime. Harem animes are known for their contingency to have one male protagonist and a bunch of other females that the male protagonist would either date or befriend, or in most cases, yeah, some cases. Funny enough, Clannad did start off as a video game, in the form of a visual novel of sorts. This visual novel was developed by the company of Key, and it released 2004 of April 28th. So yeah, this anime's got some age on it. Funny enough, it actually released right after the events of other stories being taken place in the form of visual novels, known as Canon and Air. And while those were more adult-centric stories, Clannad was made to be for all ages. And fortunately enough for any audience who are watching this, you are gladly capable of playing Clannad in its true form on Steam. But this isn't a video game review, this is a review of the anime, Clannad, released in 2007 to 2009. But as of right now, the Wi-Fi is absolutely dying on me, so I can't get any further research on the anime, so I'm just gonna have to go off the top of my head in regards to the knowledge that I know about this show. That it was created by Kyoto Animation, which has released a good number of other cutesy animes, such as Lucky Star, The Melancholy of Haru Suzumiya, Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid, and of course, you all know how much I love my lollies, so Kana's my favorite. Clannad is at the time when Kyoto Animation perfectly matched their ability to make animes look as stunning as possible. And when I say this, it's also in regards to the characters' eyes. Their eyes do share a really weird resemblance to puppy dogs and other cats. It's that spacious-like way of looking, and Clannad was one of the last animes that actually had this trademark style. This anime, while it does have its fair share of action and romance and other types of things like slice of life, its main focus is simply on the drama. Funny enough, I don't think any other studio would actually focus on the drama as much as Clannad does. It sometimes acts as a pace breaker. In the sense of the show, it works in its favor, because this is exactly what you're getting into the show for. The sense of peace is mainly the reason for why we are all watching Clannad in general. Such a whimsical feel to it, it really does feel like a fairy tale of sorts. And at least a fairy tale in which your dreams and your wish of whatever story that you view as the most perfect story in regards to the feelings is all here. Rewatching this show fills me up with so much dopamine because every single character, a majority of them having this lighthearted niceness about them, this pureness about them, hits me with a lot of whiplash. I've been scarred and abused in the real world, so when I come back to this show, I have to deprogram myself and unlearn a lot of the other biases that I've had over the years and kind of just surrender to the overall dreamscape that is Clannad. Because within the story, we'll come to understand a lot of the characters, at least in the sense of family, how struggles actually occur with these families, and how overall, everybody's just looking for a place to belong. But enough with the dry lecturing. Let's finally get into this mess. Let's finally get to my main girl, Kyo Fubayashi. Yeah, Kyo Fubayo. I'll come up with something. She's basically like the hottest girl in this entire show. I didn't say the best girl, I said the hottest girl. Don't misunderstand me. But before indulging in that, we have to witness one of Tomoya's friends getting their ass absolutely handed to them. Jesus, I always knew rugby was harder than football, but I didn't think it was like this. If you're wondering who that blonde kid is, that's Tsunohara. That's one of Tomoya's friends. And if you're wondering why exactly he lives in a dorm with all these crowded, muscular men that bully him beyond all belief, It's simply because anywhere is expensive to live. An apartment even nowadays costs borderline $2,000. You can only imagine back then with the amount of pay. So dorms are a cheap alternative, and so that works in Tsunohara's favor, but also his detriment.
Shall I kick him back?
So when it comes to Tomoya, he simply, obviously enough, doesn't like to chill at his own house. Instead, rather, he'd chill with Tsunohara at his place. But this is simply just Tomoya goofing around as well, even as straight-faced as he may seem. But thus, oddly enough, we are whisked away to a world where nothing is born and apparently nothing dies, at least what the voice says to us. Not even something as simple as time even exists here. The faint voice calls it an empty world that has already ended. But for some odd reason, the only thing that inhabits this place is this little girl. Backed up with the knowledge that I now know, specifically from the ending to this entire anime series, there is at least probably a possibility that these are characters from the far future, or at least from the ending of this anime. For what I'm assuming is the 100th time that Tomoya is late to class, the class leader, Ro Fubayashi, tells him to not be late again. Now, she's not some kind of stone-cold hard authority, she's actually very docile and she's very sweet. One of her great hobbies is fortune-telling. Yeah, well, that's surprising. Therefore telling Tomoya that he will also be late again. But along with that, tells him that he will have a very romantic meeting with a girl, and that is the reason why he will be late. Late or not, look what the cat dragged in. This is Kyo Fubayashi, and as you can see, she is a Kyofubai Kuchi. I don't freaking know. She's also the big sister to Ro Fubayashi. Kyo thinks that Tomoya was trying to pick on her little sister when obviously that's not the case. They're just reading the fortune cards, which therefore they tell Kyo exactly what they found in regards to the sweet girl that he ends up finding tomorrow, prompting Kyo to have a weird fucking face. And this part always bothered me because it doesn't exactly lead anywhere in this series, and the only time it actually has any weight is in that other special story with Kyo. Either way, moving on, Tomoya needs to find a place to eat during lunch. Doesn't have Tsunohara around, so with that being said, he's doing a little adventuring. Shockingly, he comes across Nagisa.
You alone? You should eat in the classroom with your friends.
Nagisa!
Anpan, are you listening to me?
No, I'm so sorry. I'm in the middle of my lunchtime
Man,
meal.
bitch, shut the fuck up. So as she finishes her meal, she asks Tomoya exactly what he wanted from her, but Tomoya just wanted to ask her why exactly she was sitting alone, which prompts her to ask Tomoya if he likes this school. Ah, shit. Tomoya, of course, tells her that he doesn't exactly particularly like this school that much, and this is where we get inside knowledge from the source herself that she is repeating her last year of high school. She tells us that all of her friends that were there before are off to college or at least already graduated. She says that it's incredibly hard for her to make new friends, and also too, at the end of the year, she always ends up getting sick. Tomoya asks her if she's a part of any clubs, where Nagisa just states that she would like to be a part of the drama club, but she feels that since she's feeble and weak, she probably wouldn't last. These are things that a lot of guys would like to hear. A girl that honestly has no other social ties, is usually alone, doesn't stand out much, and is usually feeble and weak to the point where she would need a lot of help. This is typically any guy's dream situation, at least to swoop in and come and save the day of some sort. But speaking of shit going on, we have something happening all the way in the PE field. Tomoyo Sakagami, one of the more hard-hitting kind of characters of this entire show. She is the most action-oriented, and she's extremely powerful. Tomoyo Sakagami is a junior, and she just transferred here. The school itself is always known for people graduating and going off to college, so that turns off a lot of other people in other places that honestly are more envious of it. Huh, so that's what it's like to see Light Yagami write in a death note. After that commotion, Nagisa and Tomoya go back to sit in their normal spot. They both reveal each other's full names, and Tomoya apparently is from Class D, where Nagisa is from Class B. Jesus Christ, Tsunohara, what the fuck? Yeah, apparently Tsunohara believes that Tomoyo is actually faking the whole karate thing, and actually wants to put himself on display here. Don't worry, he brought his best buddy along with him, but as far as anything goes, it's Tsunohara who's enabling this whole thing. Tsunohara goes on to say that the whole thing was staged and that there's no way that a girl could ever beat a guy and all that kind of sexist stuff. Although, funny enough, despite the fact that Tsunohara is a bumbling idiot in some sense, he's actually a pretty good fighter. Long ago in the past, after experiencing this story, we came to learn about Sunohara's backstory that he was a part of the soccer team, although he was always picked on and bullied, and due to that, there was one day where they absolutely went too far, prompting Sunohara to actually kick the ass of all the soccer players. This of course ruined their chances of actually going to league, thus having them actually kick him off of the soccer team altogether. But it is to be said that Sunohara is a force to be reckoned with.
Find me already!
But when it comes to Tomoyo, she was always seen as this legendary girl that would go around and kick the asses of whomever was a thug around the town, essentially garnering respect amongst the streets.
That's what I always heard, at least.
I wish you told me that earlier.
And don't come back again.
Oh, trust me, we'll be back, it just won't be any different. Later on, Tomoyo comes to find Nagisa at the drama club's doors, where she yells out, "Hamburger?" Turns out that the drama club has been on hiatus for quite a while now. And what the fuck? Ro? What the hell? See, that's not gonna go anywhere. Nagisa then asks Tomoya if she can ask him a question, and the question essentially is, why exactly is Tomoya helping her out? It's because you got big boobs, you got big eyes, and you have nice hair, okay? That's all the reason that I need. Since these two are growing quite fond of each other, and are hanging out a lot more often, they end up walking home from school together, which there's a sort of fork in the road that causes them to separate, but Nagisa then tells Tomoya that her house is actually down the street and it's a large bakery. Tomoya takes her up on that advice a little bit later on, after twiddling around and doing absolutely nothing. Holy shit! What the fuck would have put a bell on you? This is Nagisa's mother, Sanai, and she makes bread. And is the bread actually that tasty? Is it actually warrant of a good review? Well... Okay, no, it's not that serious, but seriously, who would ever make a piece of bread with a cracker inside of it, totally taking you off guard amongst chewing it? Well, apparently Tomoya agrees upon that and actually gives her the full honest treatment and review, which she ends up running out due to that and crying. Jesus Christ, it's not that. Wait, what the fuck? And then here you have Akio, Nagisa's father, basically scolding Tomoya for ever telling the truth and making sure that Tomoya gets it that everybody in this town needs to tell her that her pastries are awesome and they're great, and just coddle her feelings, you motherfucker, goddammit. Noticing that Tomoya is wearing the same school uniform as Nagisa, they then put two and two together that he's basically just a friend that's over, prompting them all to have dinner with each other. Not gonna lie, this is honestly one of the most hilarious situations I've ever seen in regards to just how they treat Tomoya, even beyond just mistaking him as a girl. For some odd reason, Akio prompts him to leave, but then quickly just drags him back down, goes on a monologue about being a true man or some shit, and even goes as far as to have Tomoya change his name to Ginga, Kaiutsu, whatever the fuck, I have no idea. Once after, Nagisa then walks Tomoya closer to his house, where they then separate. But then this is where we get the stark contrast between Nagisa's way of living and Tomoya's way of living. Essentially, Nagisa's household was such a shock to Tomoya because here we can obviously see that it's very messy and his dad is just sitting in the corner. Tomoya asks his dad if he can get up and that he's going to fall asleep on the floor again. Tomoya's dad looks up to him and basically only just says that he's unfortunately causing him a little bit of trouble once more. This for some reason gets Tomoya riled up, and out of frustration I guess, Tomoya ends up booking it out of his own house. This is where we get a little bit of a monologue narration that Tomoya's mother died in a car accident, and his dad has always been depressed ever since and picked up gambling and drinking as a hobby. Although interestingly enough, since Tomoya has nowhere in particular to run to, he ends up running back to where Nagisa's house was, which then surprisingly finds Nagisa outside, reciting a poem of some sort, where she essentially says that if you like, reaching her hand out to the person in front of her, I'll take you to a special place in town where all your wishes will come true.